most of this. I'll kind of talk about the stuff at the end, kind of like the new features, but John's gonna kind of run us through what we got right now.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of walk through the list that was given to me on stuff, and then we can open up for question and answer or anything else that we want to show. Um, First, let me turn screen sharing on and get my screen open. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so first things first, welcome everybody. Excited to have BVCA on. This is a huge step that we've been waiting for. Um, Being that it's club versus club, we've been doing club versus club for quite some time. A lot of you have never used it on our system. And so we're going to walk through a couple things today. The first thing would be setting up the event. It's super simple. It's for those of you who use our system, it's just like any other tournament, with the exception that you need to turn on duels. And turning on duels will turn on the rosters, the lineups, and the club registration flow. I am going to do a quick new tournament, and then we're going to jump into this demo and I'm going to show you a couple other things. So when you create an event, I'm going to go ahead and just create from scratch. If you create one and then you can copy it later, and then it'll be super simple. But if we're starting from scratch, I'm just going to give it a random name. It's supposed to be test, but I can't type. And then we're going to say it is February 3rd. And then it's going to pull up this big long form. Most of this is already filled in. And there's only a couple things you've got to do. First of all, you got to come in here and mark it as BVCA. If Jeff has not had us add you, it'll kick back and say you're not allowed to sanction as BVCA. And then just reach out to me or Jeff, and we will get you added as an affiliate there. And then that will be available to you, and you just check it. The only required fields here are location. I'm just going to choose a random one. Everything else, you can just put whatever information you want in here. And the key is when you get down to here, divisions. So by default, we give you a juniors 18U division. Obviously, this is club versus club, so we want to click edit. I've actually had people call me and say, hey, I don't want that 18U division. How do I get rid of it? Um, and there's that little pencil there for that reason. You click edit. And then the club versus club stuff is going to be under advanced. So we have these little hidden advanced buttons all over. What we try to do here at Volleyball Life is make everything super easy for the 90% and then put little buttons hidden for the other 10%. And so this will be under Go Advanced. And let's say this one's going to be an open division, which is going to be, do you do 3v3 or 5v5? And
we do both, depending on the location and the facility, but it will be called like open 5v5 or open 3v3.
Yeah.
One of those.
Okay, so in here you just name the division, which is under advanced. If you don't name it, it's just going to be gender and division. So it'd say girls 18U, and that's not what we want for this. I would go ahead and mark it girls 18U. That will allow everybody in. But then you just name it open 5v5. And then we're going to turn on duels. And this is going to tell you the duel count will be the number of players per team divided by 2. So we need to make this, if it's 5v5, we need to make 10 players basically on the court at once. And then you can, however many you're going to allow them to put on their roster, let's say 20, just round number. And that's really all that needs to happen. That's the only thing that's different for club versus club. By turning this on, that turns on all the other features. We want to show registered teams. We want to change the price here, but I don't know what the normal prices are. But then we just hit save. And if you're going to add a 3 versus 3, you come in here and say club 3v3. I cannot type today. And this, because it's 3, remember it's the number of duel or the number of players times 2. So we're going to put 6 in there, and then we'll just keep this at 20. And so now, oh, I don't have a division here, 18U. So now we have an open and a club division, and then we just hit save. That creates the event. And then if we go over here, brochure, and this is what I suggest to everybody and anybody, anytime you create an event, go ahead and walk through the registration yourself to make sure that everything's there. But by doing the club versus club or the duels, we turned on the club versus club, which means the registration flow is going to be different, a little bit different than what you're used to. And so in this case, we're, let's say that it's going to be 692 and 692 Dallas. It's going to say, this is the person registering. Are you the primary contact? If they are, they just click yes. If not, they click no, and we pull in the club owners for the 692. And let's say, DARS being the director is going to be the contact. And then they click divisions you're going to register for and say, I'm going to enter one squad into the open. And then they can name this right here, whatever they want. If they wanted to do 692 Beach Black, and then click the club division and say, we're going to put 2 squads in there. And then they can say red and blue. Now this can be changed later on if they forget it. But that is the registration flow. And then they just click, add to cart, check out now, and then they go and pay for it. Now, just because I just created this and the location is specific, that's why it's saying it's not available. I always forget to do that, change the time zone. Anyways, so that is the registration flow and creating it. Like I said, it's super simple. It's the same as any other tournament with the exception of turning on the duels.
Can you show us where like our facility, let's say we were only allowed 8 open or 8 club teams. Where's the limits on those to set those limits for?
So those will be in the division when you're setting up the divisions, and you can always come back here and hit edit, and then you can come in here and change these.
Oh, I see.
The max teams here for.
Okay, got it.
This would be, let's say it's 5. And then this one can also do 5.
Okay.
And just so everybody watching the recording that has never used us, what that does is it creates an automatic wait list. And so when the 6th registration comes in, it collects their credit card information, but it doesn't charge it. It puts them on the wait list. And then we have some other videos on our YouTube channel on how to move them in from our wait list.
Cool.
And then as a tournament director, I'm going to jump in here to our demo real quick because I have some teams in here already. As a tournament director, you have access to this page. So it says check in for you. If we switch it to public view, it says team locator for the general public. So everybody has access to it. But as a tournament director, you have a little bit more admin rights. So if someone needed to change their team name, it's simple as just clicking in this row. Is that not doing it here? Let me refresh the page there. Oh,
you're in check-in. You're not in teams.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm coming down here to squads. So you come down here into the division they're in, and then you can click any row, and it pulls up and shows you the roster. And you can edit here. And let's change this to red. Then you can hit save. The other way to do that is this little arrow at the very end of the row. It takes you to manage the team. Now, again, this is your view as an administrator. There's a pencil right here where you can change the name, change it back to black. And this is where you can add and remove and drop players. You can move their divisions. If we switch over here to public view, this will basically just give them their schedule and the roster. And they can, so the spectators can see the schedule and the roster, and also come over here and click to view the player profiles if they want to do that. So that is editing the team names. Now, as a club director, when you register, you are going to have a little bit different view. You're going to have access to this team manager as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a private browser where I've logged in as somebody from Silver Beach, logged in as Benny, and say this is the demo tournament again. So when you come into the tournament, you're going to notice an extra tab over here. It's called My Teams. You can click that and it shows both of your teams that you're managing. And this is where you can input your rosters as well as jump to their schedules. And then from the schedule, you can put in lineups. So this one I've already completed, so I can show you the lineup stuff. But then this one I'm left open. So we hit manage roster and we can hit add a player. Now this is going to come out and they're going to say there's no players on the Silver Beach roster. That is going to change very soon. We are tying this to clubs, which will tie into the roster that you build as a club. And I can show you an example of that here in a minute. But since it's not, we don't have your rosters in there yet. You just hit player search. And so you're going to add me. You just take a search and you hit edit. If they have a jersey number, you hit it. If not, you hit save. Now, this is a case where it's a double save button, so don't let that confuse you. You add them to the team, but in order to save the team, you also have to hit save here. So let's just say I was going to add me and Kevin. Oops, got to hit.
I'm serving Kevin all day long.
Please don't. And I'm not in the shape.
Well, you have to, because if not, it's just going to be an on-2 pass that he's going to hit anyways. So then you just save the team. Obviously, we don't have all the players in there yet, but this will, you can come in here and assign them all. I'm not going to walk through all of that and just do that. This will also give you game day stuff where you can jump to the schedule. You can see your team schedule and then say, I'm playing 210 at this. So you can click that and jump right to the pull sheet. And you have your matches here. Which brings us to assigning lineups. Assigning lineups are important for tracking and making sure no one's moving pairs where they shouldn't be moving. It's also important for later on some other stuff that we could possibly do with points and all that kind of good stuff. So assigning a lineup is as simple as going in here and clicking the assign a lineup. Oops, wrong team. And then you have your pairs here. And you can say John and Phil are going to be your one pair, Kevin and Ron Burgundy second. And then I think Taylor needs to play with Wes. Brian needs to play with Jake. And then Brick and Champ will be our 5 pair. And then you just hit save. Now, you can click, if you're not going to change your pairs at all between matches, you can go ahead and click apply to future matches. Now that works per round. So if you do it here, it's not necessarily going to carry over to your bracket, but that'll be coming later on in version 2 where we'll be able to apply it to the entire tournament. So then you just hit save, and that will go and assign your lineups to this match. So now if we look at the match, you have the players on there as well. Without doing that, we have no way of knowing what players were involved in the match, so we can't tie them back. We can't tie these matches back to their player profiles, all that other good stuff. So that is a vital piece. Now, we do have some advanced features here that we can go into later on, not necessarily on this Zoom, but we have lineup locks where you can, tournament director can say, after 30 minutes before the match, lineups can't be changed, or don't show the lineup of the opposing team until 30 minutes before the match. There's all kinds of advanced features that we've added in here since we do a lot of the NCAA stuff. Speaking of NCAA stuff, I'm going to show you what it will, your club rosters will look like in the future. You will have.
John, before you go, Jeff, did you understand the lineup lock? I think that's going to be important for BVCA at some point.
Yeah, for us, so what's important for us is that we definitely record our first match. So then we have a way to track it all the way through.
Yeah, so basically the lineup lock, you're able to like put in the roster at any time. And nobody will be able to see who you put in until 30 minutes before the match when all the rosters are locked. And so that's a way to mitigate like, oh, this is the matchup that I want to play, and I want to play this team against, you know what I mean? It's a way to mitigate that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it matters so much in juniors because there's a couple matchup with clubs that maybe it's important, but for most of us, it's
just put your best lineups
depends on the damn day. Like these girls are so, depends on what match it is. It really doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
Marty, you unmuted. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question for the lineup assignments. So, it probably isn't relevant to most people, but sometimes we have 7 squads. I was wondering if there's a chance that multiple people could be in charge of our lineups from one club, or is it just me handing out my password to multiple people?
Yeah, so with the club versus club, there's a couple things, Kevin, you should pay attention to this too. So we've added all the clubs that Jeff sent us over into our teams list. Now, not all of them have been associated with an organization on Volleyball Life, but a lot of them have. A lot of them that I know have, which means like Silver Beach, 210, Spiker Beach, all the ones that are pretty common. I went in and attached them to their organization because you all had organizations on Volleyball Life already. What that means is anybody that has admin rights to your club organization, to Spiker Beach on Volleyball Life, will have rights to add to the roster and assign lineups and all that. The other thing, since you brought that up, if we click in here to manage team, there is this little button up here. Let's say, Marty, you were playing an event, but you couldn't go, so you wanted to have Kevin run your event that day. You can click this and you can say give access, say give them roster and lineup editor access, and give them access all the way until the 4th, the day after the event at midnight. And then you create. What that does is it creates this little token that you can just hit copy link, and then you can send it to them, or you can just hit send link, and I can type in, I can type in my own phone number here, and then hit send, and that comes through as a text message, and it gives me a link right here on my phone to click. And once they click that link, it adds a token to their user and allows them to edit that lineup. So as a tournament director, it's important to note too, if you have a tournament director, or I'm sorry, a coach that comes up and says, hey, I don't have access, you as a club or tournament director can come in here to any team and do that same thing. You can just give them an access, a token.
And John, that's done per team, right? Like, so I have access to Silver Beach Black, but not Silver Beach Red.
Correct. Now that'll change. That's something we built a while back and haven't improved yet, but there's a lot coming out in version 3 of Volleyball Life. But yeah, so if in this case, this would be Silver Beach Black, and then I would have to come back in here to Silver Beach 2 and do the same thing and give Kevin. Now, the other thing you could do is you can come in here to your account home, your Spiker home, go to staff and just add Kevin as an admin, and then he'll have access to those teams, and then you can just remove them after the event. We will be adding a coach's permissions level in here in the future, that you'll be able to assign them teams that they'll always have access to and all that kind of good stuff. But when we were adding to the roster, if I come back over here, I'll show you what USC's page looks like. You can build out a roster here that has all the players, and then your My Teams tab is a little bit different, right? You can come in here and hit manage roster, and then there'll be a button to just add everybody. Then you can just add everybody and then take off the ones you want, stuff like that. So that's coming once we build out those clubs and add the rosters to the clubs. And we're going to give you guys access to build those rosters as well.
Tyler, you have your hand up. Do you want to, is something you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of new, so this question might kind of be a mute point and Jeff might cut it off. But if you have a player who, I mean, I'm sure once we assign players to clubs and it's like kind of locked in, it won't happen as much. But if you have a player who doesn't play for your club that comes to a club v club and is on your pairs, like, how is that going to work with Volleyball Life? And the reason it could get cut off, the question could get cut off is, Jeff, is that even a thing that BVCA wants happening or is happening, or what's that even look like?
Well, that's why we have the BVCA membership. So when they pay their $25, it will assign, which you can now join, get a BVCA membership on Volleyball Life. It assigns the club. And so if she's a new person that hasn't assigned with anybody, you're welcome to pick her up.
Okay. So I guess the next question would be on Volleyball Life. If she isn't signed with someone, is she going to be able to play with another club? Because the reason I ask is I just found out this morning, but one of the pairs we played this weekend, she played for a club that she's not a part of for the club v club. And so I was wondering, once Volleyball Life happens, like, is that free game? Are we allowed to pick up athletes like that? Or is that going to kind of be monitored and more restricted now with this new implementation?
It's pretty monitored, and it's monitored by you guys by identifying that. And then I end up having to make the uncomfortable call to that director and say, hey, you had a illegal player that plays for, whatever, that's not allowed. And there is a if a girl wants to leave a club, we have protocol for a girl to leave a club before she reassigns. And so if she paid her $25 with Spiker and she doesn't, she's decided to move to NorCal, well, she's got to contact Spiker to get released. And then I'm included in the email chain, and then I give her blessing, and then I change her membership. So it really happens organically, kind of like what you just described, of you identifying that, and then I'll make the call to the director and saying, hey, that's not allowed. You do that again, I'm going to strip 500 points from you. So it's stuff like that. So you can dime me in later after this call.
Well, I guess that that makes the question, that's kind of why I asked it, because it kind of makes it a moot point, because it's not going to be something we need to worry about if we're monitoring it.
Right. And maybe in the future we can talk about that, guys, John and Kevin, is how do we restrict players from registering from another club if her BVCA membership is assigned to one club and she tries to register for another?
Yeah, so we've had several discussions about this internally, and this is a very, very difficult thing to handle, but we are working on it. And because there is, with beach, there's no single source of truth. Within the BVCA environment, within your tournaments, the single source of truth will be the membership. Whatever they're registered for under that membership is what will be in there, listed in there. Now what's on their player profile could be different. We have situations like, especially like here in Georgia, where someone could play for A5 Beach, but they're taking private lessons at S3. And so they might have both clubs listed under their player profile. So really what the single source truth is going to be for BVCA is what they put on their BVCA membership. And so we can talk about, later on, we can talk about making these tournaments members only. And so then adding to the roster only searches the member database. They can't be pulled onto the roster unless they have that membership in place. I didn't know, I haven't talked to you directly, Jeff, on whether or not we just want to implement that for all BVCA tournaments. I'm assuming that we do. So they won't have to click this, it'll be automatically clicked. But then, their club really isn't editable unless they go into their player profile. And that part is editable, but the membership record history is not editable. And so, I mean, it's very easy also to check where, if we come in here and then say, show me your club, you'll see that, all right, this has got 4 different clubs in it. So something's wrong with this team. And so we'll be able to check that. So one of the things that we were talking about showing you guys was, I think everybody on this call knows how to do it, but the ones that haven't, is if you already have registration open on BracketPal and you want to move it over now before the event, is how to add those teams. And that's as simple as doing a quick add. So if we look at this, this is an AJV. If we wanted to add 692 in here, I'm just going to do it on my demo tournament because I don't want to take time to go find their event. But you, on any teams tab here, actually any division tab, any administrator tab, there is a quick add button at the top. You just hit quick add. And it's going to take you the same registration flow as the customer, with the exception that none of the required fields are required for you since you're the tournament director. But we can say 692, and no, it's not going to be me, it's going to be Dar. And you click that and say I'm adding 1 squad. And then you just complete it and hit add team, and that just automatically adds them. And so if it's an event like this where there's 12 teams, it should be pretty easy to go ahead and just do quick adds. When you do a quick add, we don't charge you. Since you're moving over BracketPal, you already paid over there. We're going to let you move those teams in without that charge. And so that's how you would move those teams over. Also, once you create your event, if you have it up on BracketPal, it's highly suggested that you just point it to the Volleyball Life site, because becomes a real hassle when you have registrations 2 different places. If you're taking registration Volleyball Life and then someone finds the Bracket Pal version and registers there, then you have to come quick at them and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you how to do that on Bracket. I think Jesse sent out emails on how to do that since they're shutting down, but I'm just going to go into an old Mad Sand event. So this is Bracket Pal and the registrations. You go into an old event, hit the triple ellipse, hit edit registration form. And then the third question there is where they register. If you come in there and hit the registers on another website, and then you would come over here to Volleyball Life and copy this link right here. Actually, what I suggest is go to tournament brochure, then copy the link, and then just paste it in here, and then just hit save. And what that does is when they go to the event, they can find it on Bracket Pal. When they click to register, it's just going to forward them over here. And it basically turns off registrations on Bracket Pal. So it's really simple to do. We just wanted to show you, so you could refer to the video if you couldn't find it. I know I always struggle to find it every time I'm in there, but even though it's the third question. So that would be moving your events over and the teams. Then as Jeff mentioned, we do have the BVCA memberships. So BVCA.VolleyballLife.com would be the homepage for BVCA.
What about promo codes? Because JVA, if you're a JVA member, all promoters are supposed to add a $50 coupon code as it's JVA 2024.
Okay. So that is every promoter can come in here into their organization home, and then under cart manager, promo codes.
Okay.
You can create any promo codes that you want here for any events. You just simply click the add button, and then let's call this JVA 50 and say you said it's $50.
Yeah.
$50. You can say how many times it can be used. Let's say it can only be used 3 times. If you leave it blank, it can be used as many times as you want. You can set an expiration date. And then we also have some advanced features here, again, hidden under the advanced button. In this case, we'd want to come in here and say it is for registrations only. And then you would probably want it to, if you're running other events other than BVCA on our system, you would also want to come in here and get the event ID, which is in the URL after the word tournament. So this is the event ID, and say it's only good for this tournament.
Yeah.
If you have multiple tournaments, you can come in here and put a comma, and then let's say it's also this tournament, right? And so you can comma separate tournament IDs, and it'll only be good for those tournaments. So they're not using them for your other tournaments.
Yeah, because we don't offer that for individuals. We only offer that for the club v club. So
Okay.
if somebody's doing individuals, Charlie and Marty, that you definitely don't want that in on the individuals.
Yeah, and that reminds me, so we can also do it by division. So let's say in this event, you had your club v club, but you also came in here and you added a pairs for the next day. You can either do it in 2 separate events, or you can do it in the same event. Say this is 2 and 2. Oops. Oh my gosh. 2 and 2. Remove this and say we're going to have an 18U girls. So let's call it 18U pairs. Right. So in this event here, what did I just do? Anyways, so we would have an 18U pairs and an 18U club. Let me do that again. Add division. 18U pairs. And it's 18U. And this is 2. This is 2. Everything else is pretty much the same. This is probably going to be 100 instead of 600 or 80 or whatever. Right. And so now we have a pairs division. If I hit save.
John, you left it as duels.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know I was muted.
Oops. Okay. There we go. Turn off duels and put two on the roster. So now we have a pairs and a club v club. And so if you want the promo code to only count for the club versus club, you need the division ID. which is after the word division in the URL. And again, if you have any questions with this, reach out to support at Volleyball Life for Kevin or John at Volleyball Life, and we'll help you do this. I know it can get confusing trying to find the IDs. So you just copy that ID and then you can put it in the division. So this coupon code is only good for that division, right? And we just hit save. And then you just give them that JVA. So when they go here to check out, they would have to put promo code and say JVA 50 and then hit apply.
Hey, John, is there another question? As the brand organization or the affiliate organization, is there a way I can do it? So then on my end, so then they don't have to worry about doing that. So it would just be all BVCA Club V clubs if you put this code in.
We could do it in bulk.
I mean, we don't have to do it this year, but I just didn't think if there was some way that where I assign it and they don't have to mess with it and they can't mess it up. And
yeah, we can do a trickle. We can look at doing a trickle down promo code. We've had requests for that in the past. Okay. Being that the parent organization issues one and it would trickle down. I think what it would do is we would just have to, yeah, I mean, we could do it this year. We could just create the code and then I can just go into the database and copy it to all your organizations. But they would have permission to go in and turn it off. But we could very easily just add this to everybody's organization ahead of time if you wanted us to.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk more.
So that's promo codes. And then the membership, this is BVCA.VolleyballLife.com, and they just click join and click join now, and click no, and then they just fill out the information. And that will, they have to agree to the BVCA rules, which will open this document for them. And then if you want to check to see if your members have, you can come in here and just look to see if I have one, which I don't. But anybody that currently has one, that had one in Bracket Pal, we've imported, and they are in there already. So that would be the memberships, and then also the BVCA landing page. So just so everybody understands, when you use Volleyball Life, you get your own subdomain. Like you'll have rally.volleyballife.com or spikerbeach.volleyballife.com. And anytime you create an event, like if I come over here to my organization and say my site, I have demo.volleyballife.com. It has my branding on it, my colors, all that kind of stuff. And when you go to the events page, it only shows my events, right? And there's the BVCA events that we just created. Now, if they have this little red glow around them, that just means that they're not public. So the public can't see them yet. You just need to go in there and publish them. And so you have your subdomain, but anytime you mark it sanctioned by BVCA, it will also show up on the BVCA. There's the two that we have, the one that I just created. It will show up on the BVCA.volleyballife.com. So all the events will be in one place. And then it also shows up on our website, just VolleyballLife.com. This page right here gets close to 1 million page views a month. And so everything is listed, and it's listed in 3 different places. So that gives a lot of publicity to the events. And then, as everybody probably knows, that's on the call, and for those that have never used us, we are in the midst of a huge update. And I am going to pass it over to Kevin, and we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing with V3. Sorry, Kevin's circling on my screen here. So if you wanted to just find the BVCA events, you just go like that. Also, just so you guys know, our search bars are extremely powerful. Like if I turn this all on and then I just type BVCA in here, it's just going to pull up all the BVCA events. So these search bars are extremely powerful. Now, our new version of Volleyball Life is going to have a much more powerful search bar. For those of you who are interested, I wouldn't suggest doing this because it's kind of a pain to get back out of, but there's a button hidden right here. We can jump over here and show you the new version of Volleyball Life. And you'll see that there's much clearer search bars here. So if we wanted to unselect all and just say BVCA, If you wanted to search for anything Spike or Beach, obviously there's still some bugs in here that we're working on. That's why it's not public. But I'll go ahead and toss it over to Kevin. He's going to talk about what we're doing for the club versus club and club management type stuff on V3 that's coming out.
Cool. John, I think you got to give me a screen share ability.
Okay, let me stop mine. Screen share.
Can I ask a question while you guys are handing over?
Yep.
I guess for in the past, when we've used Bracket Pal to avoid like basically getting like double credit card fees, we have just added our teams onto events, and then Jesse's kind of backwardly charged us after the event. Is that possible for you to do for us as well? So if we, once the changeover is complete, so if like for the West Coast Championships, we just add all our teams and then we would just, I guess, be charged by Jesse. Does that make sense? So we don't kind of pay a credit card fee on them paying us and then us then paying you guys. Basically, for when we host our own events, how do we add our teams? Like I saw you do the add team thing, John. Is that a possibility that you would charge us afterwards and then we pay Jeff separately?
Yeah, so I have a deal with my hosting promoter clubs that they can do a back end pay like they paid, and then we settle up after, since they are the local promoter team that's hosting. That it gives them like Marty said, like, you know, every bit helps for a promoter. So
yeah,
I kind of allow them to do that.
Yeah, so anytime you quick add a team, you need to square that up with Jeff. So yeah, you can go in and quick add your team, and then just contact him. As far as our fees, currently when you quick add a team, we don't charge you. That has been getting abused quite a bit, so we are going to be changing that, where we're going to keep a running tally, and then we can bill you afterwards, or we can just take it out of your next registration. When V3 comes out, that's how it'll work.
Cool. We don't want to abuse it. We want to be square with you guys.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
And is there a way that you can run an audit every tournament? Like I could run it? Is there a way, like, you know, like I could create my own audit for these guys versus give you guys the work, that I could just do a quick audit?
Yeah, so the easy thing to do, let me just reshare. Let me get out of this real quick. Question mark V equals 2. So if we go back to that event, now I need to double check. I'm not sure if I've added you as sanctioning body user, but once I add you as the head of sanctioning body, you have access to go into the tournaments and help them too. So you'll have access to this admin here, but only for BVCA events.
You're not sharing, John.
Oh, I'm not? Oh,
no.
That's why it's okay. Sorry. Once I mark you as the sanctioning body head, then you could actually log into any BVCA sanctioned event and help them run it if you needed to. You could come in here and do you basically have admin rights. So then you can come in here, registration as well, which you can see quickly on the registration page. You know, this is promo code, and then this little admin button means they were quick added. And so then you can just download this to get you can come over here to this and download a financial report. And that financial report will tell you everybody that paid and which ones were quick added, and all that kind of good stuff. So if they were quick added, if they were promo code, you'd see that. And then if they're quick added, you know, the amount would be 0. And so you could do an audit and just make sure, hey, call them on those. And of course, we can make this, I mean, you get with Kevin and tell you exactly how you'd want it to work and what report you'd want to be able to audit them, and we'll make it as easy as possible for you. So
Marty, can I ask a follow-up question to that? When you quick add, you're talking about just, you know, I'm hosting the event, I'm quicking adding my own teams, or are you talking about, hey, we're gonna, you know, allow Wave and NBCN to pay with like cash or credit card and then quick add?
No, we only quick add our own teams.
Well, if it's only your own teams, that's okay.
It's only our own teams, just to avoid, because they pay us through a credit card, and if we pay you guys through a credit card, we kind of go up to 6% on the transaction as opposed to 3%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
makes
I'll send a email to all the promoters, making sure the way we just described it is happening. I don't like, hey, I'm coming to your event, you're coming to mine. Let's just quick at each other's team, and we'll just call it, square. But I don't like that. So it just gets too mucky, and I only allow it for the promoters. So should be
Cool.
all right. Thanks, guys.
And I'm sorry, I'm just now looking at the chat. Marty, you asked a question earlier about automatically added to the club roster. Yeah, that's part of version 3 and what we're going to be doing when they they choose their club, then they'll automatically be assigned. We try to make everything as simple as possible for everybody. We know that people are inherently lazy, and so we try to take that away. And so what will happen in the future is when they register for that membership, we're going to add them to your quote unquote club roster and then send you an email and say, hey, this person was just added to your club roster. If this is a mistake, click here. Otherwise, you're good to go. And same thing, vice versa. When you add a player to your roster, we're going to send them an email and let them know that they were added. But yeah, that will happen automatically with memberships in version 3. So
yeah, I think what Kevin's getting ready to describe will be really cool, but I think all the beach club directors want more formal. They want it more tight. They want it more structured.
Yeah.
And as we pull away from the indoor game, that's what we're fighting against, or it probably would be more structured. I think a lot of these things you guys are going to do is going to be really cool.
All right, so I'll just show you guys. This is gonna be brief. We're still kind of thinking through and making sure this works. Brian Cook and I have dove in on just wireframing this out and thinking about all the scenarios. I don't know if we've got them all. If you guys want to reach out after and just be like, hey, I wish it did this. I wish it did this. It's not right now. It's the best time for that. Once we actually build it, it's going to be a little bit harder to make changes. But basically what we're trying to do is give every club their own dashboard, right? So they are able to kind of see, hey, these are my players playing this week. This is where they're going. Obviously, this is just me, but I can maybe see a list of all my players, where they're playing, what's going on there. I can have a full list of all the players that are part of my club. I can see the teams that I've built. I have a team builder and kind of some of just communication, just club management, basic stuff. I can see kind of the events that I'm hosting here. And then if I go over, I can see a list of all my players. So when they sign up for a BVCA membership, they should be automatically added here. We're trying to figure out exactly how it's added. Is it added by the club directors? Is it added by the players? Is there notifications back and forth? Do they have to confirm it? Right. Those are some of the things we're thinking through. I think we're kind of there, John, right?
Yeah, we are. I mean, I think we are for now. It's very, very structured in indoor where you have to send out an invite and they have to approve it and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is, like I said, people are inherently lazy and parents might not get that email or might not know they need to click. So what we're going to do is, automatically add them and give them ways to say, no, this is wrong. And that usually is if you just selected the wrong player profile or something like that. But yeah, I think we have, I've started working on it, so it's pretty much decided.
Yeah. And then you'd be able to come in here and you'd be able to make your teams, right? So I could have coaches on there. They would have access with those token accesses that John was talking about. The players that I'm submitting to this one club versus club event. This is Volleyball Life blue team. I have my orange team, my white team. I could say, hey, edit in the team builder. It'd bring me to this team builder page where I would, have my blue team. I could add players. I could pull players from my club. I could pull players in and take players away. It would also have a historical roster every time that I played in an event. It would show me, hey, who did I bring to that event in 2021? Who did I bring to that event in 2022? And it would be able to keep a record for you, so you could kind of look at it and be like, oh, yeah, I should probably play these players. These players haven't had a chance to play in a BVCA, so I'm going to bring these ones in. Or hey, this is my strongest team. I'm not going to mess with it. And this is just submitting a roster to BVCA, and then this is kind of the team builder. So this is again a brief introduction. I don't want to dive too deep. I mean, if I zoom out, there's a million things in this XD file that we're working on, but that's kind of the club management where we're going with it. A lot of those, I would say, 99% of what I just showed is going to be free. So clubs are going to have the ability to kind of manage at least the basics of what they're doing, the club management. And then we'll have some upgraded features where if you want to do your automated billing, if you want to do your calendar, if you want to do private lessons, if you want to do all that stuff and have it tied to a system that also does tournaments and also does BVCA, we're going to have all that hopefully in-house. And so that's kind of where we're going with that. But a lot of those features will be, you know, free because we want it to promote this BVCA in this club versus club format.
Can you add a texting feature where that team you're able to text for that weekend? Because a lot of times, like you said, people don't check emails. But
yeah, so that's going to be part of it as well. The communication features. There'll be some communication, you know, through Volleyball Life where you're pushing notifications to players and all that kind of stuff. But there'll also be SMS and email and all that kind of stuff. Think of like, I mean, this is pretty aggressive, but like Mind Body Connect and Team Snap and AES all kind of wrapped into, you know what I mean, a better, more functional platform. And sorry for insulting you with AES, John.
So just to answer that more in depth, we already do have text messaging capabilities. We use it for some of the bigger tournaments. The one issue with it is because we're national and actually international as well, we have to follow the strictest rules, which are probably California, and it is opt-in only. And so with that, that's where you would have to tell your players, hey, you need to go here and opt into SMS because you're not going to get the messages. And so we could probably give you a report. Kevin, you might want to add that on the list, a report of who is opted in and who hasn't to SMS. I mean, as a tournament director, we do have capabilities of, you know, you can push a button and send a text and say, hey, brackets are published. And anybody that has opted in on that tournament will get that text message right then and there. And so that is just a matter of turning on two-factor registration, which is going to be a little bit more difficult in this club versus club environment. We do have this button at the very bottom at every page on Volleyball Life. It's SMS opt-in. You just come in here and type your phone number, and it will tell you if you're opted in or not. If you're not opted in, then it'll send you a message, and then you just put the code in, just like two-factor, and that puts you on the list to be opted in for text messages. But yeah, we will definitely be adding that. I don't know, on that little XD file, those little SMS icons on there. So you'll be able to email or text. So we plan on doing a lot with this club versus club. We're in a unique position where, you know, I've always said this. I think it's very cool to be in this position where I could automate an email to you every Thursday and say, hey, Marty, you've got 10 players playing in San Diego this weekend. You might want to send a coach down, you know. And with all the tournaments registrations, we have that capability. So we're just working on the user interface and the notifications to be able to push to you guys. So it's exciting.
Hey, John, is this going to be, this V3 going to be when we implement, or you guys implement the university athlete kind of component for those who are at the tournaments, either BVCA or other recruiting, so they can kind of track the athletes they want to watch?
Yeah, there's a lot of features that we are building in for that. I mean, we've taken all your suggestions and all that kind of stuff, and we're going to be modeling all that out. Obviously, you know, we don't have 20 million developers, so it's V3 is going to be a phased rollout where, you know, we're going to be pushing people to it, and then at some point in the next month, maybe we're going to flip it. So V3 would be the default, and you'd have a toggle button that you can toggle back and forth from V2 to V3. And then at some point we'll just phase out V2 altogether. And with that, though, you know, club management will come, and then upgraded player profile features and all that kind of stuff will come in phases. So
our goal for that, Tyler, is before all the national championships, I would say like mid-June, have some type of university athletes type of display. So when they come to the tournament, there's a report that they can, hey, I favorited all these players, like, or hey, here's all my players and here's my complete schedule. Let me download my schedule and print it out, and I can carry like a physical piece of paper or something like that. Or that's what we're trying to do for June, July, and we'll iterate on it a lot over the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome for both like the recruiting side, but also the club directors when they're trying to like hop from pool to pool to say when they need to be where at what time and stuff. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've talked about this for a while and just haven't had time to put in there, but and if you guys have any ideas, feel free to email them to us. But there's going to be a lot of notifications built in. So when you're at some of these bigger tournaments, you'll be able to, say follow your players or whatever, and you'll be able to get a text message, say, hey, this, court 10 is starting in 5 minutes. You might want to get down there, whatever. And so you'll be able to get text message reminders for notifications. And that will also be for parents as well, get score updates, all that kind of good stuff. So there's a lot coming. We have a lot planned.
And it's also a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Every time we get close to getting something out, we get slammed to something else, like bracket pal shutting down and getting 30 phone calls a day for a couple of weeks, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff.
Marty, go ahead.
You talked about Mind Body. We use that for our club management. Just flag it with you guys. I'd be super curious to have a conversation with you about club management stuff. Mind Body's super clunky for our needs. So at some point in the future, it's not immediate, but if we made a switch, it would be after summer, which obviously V3 would be well and truly in, progressing. But yeah, maybe not now, but at some point in the future, let's discuss, because I'd rather give my money to you guys than give it to Mind Body.
Appreciate that.
Happily taken.
Yeah, and you might want to preemptively have a conversation with Kevin, just a short one. Say, this is what I don't like about Mind Body, so we make sure we address those concerns early on. I mean, we've done that with a lot of club directors already. But the reason Volleyball Life is kind of evolved how it has was because that's what we do, right? We put out a product and then just tell, hey, what do you want? What do you want better? What do you want changed? And we just keep addressing all those changes. And so the more feedback we have, the quicker we can get all that stuff out.
Yeah, Marty, I'll set up a time with you. Cool. Any other questions?
No, but yeah.
Just a quick one. I'm happy to do the same. We use Easy Facility for our academy and coaching platform, and we would love to switch over to something else. But also, quick question for Jeff. Jeff, is there a minimum number of players that are that can be added to a roster for a 3v3?
You're on mute, Jeff.
Well, minimum, you got to have 6.
Well, sorry, maximum. I meant maximum.
Oh no, you could carry 4, 5. Nobody ever brings one, so we never had a maximum. So,
Okay.
It's like college. Like there'll be 20 on a roster and only 10 play. So,
are there rules around subbing, Jeff? Like
yeah,
subbing
just like college. Yeah, you go in, you have to come out unless you play another match and move up or move down.
Okay.
So it's the exact same.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they can just make sure they have it on their roster before the match plays.
Yeah. And the full transparency of, if as tournament directors, if you start making sure people put in their lineups, that kind of gives that full transparency and gives you a way to go back to a previous event and say, these people have always been 1s. Why are you playing them in your 3s? And we've been working with the AVCA as well, and doing a bunch of stuff for college. And they're probably going to be using some of the stuff that we have for being able to identify people that are not in the appropriate places. So
Hey, I don't want to crash Marty's meeting, but I've also used Mind Body before, and I'd be curious to just hear kind of what you guys are thinking too. I know we've had conversations with Snapspin, but if that conversation is open to all, I'd be interested in hearing that club management side when you have it, Kevin.
Okay. Sounds good.
any other direct BVCA related questions before I pause this recording? Nope. Okay. I will stop the recording.